Where did you first become a dispatcher, and how did all that come about?
After I got out of the Navy, I was working at a little gas station, pumping gas, and the boss decided he wanted to. There was an event going on in a field down behind us, and he wanted to. He didn't want me to park my car on his property because he could charge somebody to park their car where my car was. I said, well, so where am I going to park my car? I don't know, but you're not going to park it here. I said, okay. And he said, fine, you're fired. So I went across the street to the other gas station. And I walk in, and the guy says, hi, how can we help you? I said, I'm looking for a job. He goes, good, what's your name? I said, Garrett Green. He said, and he goes, Gary. And I looked around in the building, and I'm like, 2 R's, 2 T's is going to be a little bit challenge for some of these folks here. So I said, it's 2 R's, 2 T's, green as in the color. And come to find out, it was a Texaco station right at the ramp complex at Route 38 and 495 in Tewksbury. And they also towed for the Concord Barracks and for Andover Barracks. And it was not unusual to see a state police cruiser parked in the yard. And it worked out well for them, worked out well for us. And so I went to work there, and I got to meet some of the troopers who would be coming in to grab a soda or a coffee or something. And that was about the time they were putting in the call boxes on 495. So we always listened to the scanner. And when the guys would come in, I'd talk with them and got to know some of them. And I was talking to Ron Lamoli one day, and I said to Ron Lamoli one day, I said, these radio frequencies that we're hearing on the scanner, I said, who are these people that are talking to us? You know, Station K versus A3, and he said, Station K is the troop headquarters, and A3 is a substation. And he said, they're in adjacent rooms. And he started giving me a little idea as that. And he said, the call boxes can be done from either side. Anyway, but we got to get to know each other a little bit. And Ron was very, very, very proud of veterans. And I had spent 2 tours with the Navy. One tour on the battleship New Jersey, and then I went back over to Vietnam for another year and did a tour on the river, driving an LCM-8, hauling cargo and supplies up and down the river. And I got to know more of the guys. And I said, well, these dispatchers, what are they? He said, they're civilians. And I said, oh. He said, you know, they might do an exam at some point. And then one day he called me one morning, and he said, you still interested in being a dispatcher? And I said, yeah, I'm very much interested in being a dispatcher. And he said, okay. He said, be here at the barracks in Concord at noontime. And I said, okay. So I get down there, and a friend of my sister's knew where the barracks was in Concord, and she gave me a ride down. And so I show up, and somebody said, "Oh, you got to talk to Soupy." Soupy was the dispatcher in charge of the civilian dispatchers. And so I show up, and he said, here's the scene. He said, we had a civilian dispatcher, and he finished his shift the other night. He left at the end of his shift, and he had a few pops and went about wherever he wanted to go, and he got pulled over by a local police department, and he told them that he was a trooper. And that pretty much became his last shift as a dispatcher, once he told the local police that he was a trooper. So that was it. He said, we need somebody yesterday. So he said, you need to go upstairs and talk to the lieutenant. And I don't remember if it was Woody or if it was one of the other lieutenants. And so I went upstairs to talk to him. And he said, I have no idea why they sent you up to talk to me. He said, because I know nothing about any of this. And yeah. And I had an ace bandage on my wrist. And he said, what's with the ace bandage? And I said, I was working on a customer's car last night at the shop, and I dropped a wrench on my wrist, and it kind of hurt a little bit. I said, it's okay, but I said, it hurt like hell. And he goes, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. So he says, why don't you get downstairs and talk to Soupy? And I'm like, who's this Soupy person? So I went down, and he said, I need somebody yesterday. And he said, when would you be able to start? And this was like on a Monday or a Tuesday. I said, I could start, tomorrow. And he goes, okay, be here at 8 o'clock tomorrow. So that's where it started. Yes.
What, if any, kind of training did you have?
Well, every time the phone rang, or every time the radio came on, somebody would ask for something. And you're like, ooh, what's that? What's an M&W? What's this? What's that? And there's somebody sitting there. You do this. And one of the things, the teletype, in doing the morning reports, I couldn't type 60 words in a month, and you had to do these. And I don't know, Jane, if you've ever used a teletype machine. You type it out, and it sends a ticker tape across the floor. And then somebody walks in and steps on it. You got to go back to the beginning and type it all over again.
Or if you made a mistake?
Or you made a mistake. But it was...
So what year was that you started?
That was, I want to say, let's see, I got off active duty in 1970, so it was probably 71 or 72. Maybe probably 72 would be closer.
Did you do anything with communications at all in the Navy?
No.
No.
We used to, the communication was, you get down the river and you just throw beer cans at other boats.
All right, now, if you want to tell the ride-along story.
And on 128 North, at Howard Johnson's, where the road splits, they had instead of a barrier, they had a stanchion with a yellow light on it. And there was a car stopped in front of that yellow light and not going anywhere, just sitting there. So we pulled up and get out and talk to the guy. And he's like, oh. And he's like, what's going on? Why is everybody here? What's going on? So the trooper I was with said to the guy, he said, why don't you get out of the driver's seat? Okay. He said, get in the passenger seat of the cruiser. He said, he says, I'm going to give you a ride home. So he gets in the passenger seat of the cruiser, and the trooper said to me, he said, you get in his car and follow us. So I followed them. Pull up to the guy's house. And when I go to get in the car, I couldn't get the car started. And I said, the car won't start. And I went back and the guy said, it's a 74. You have to have the seatbelt fastened to start the car. So the car started right up. And the trooper looked at me and said, not as bad as I thought he was. Followed the guy to his house. Put the car in the yard. Gave the keys to the guy's wife. And the trooper was talking to him, and he said, have you ever gotten a ride home before? The guy said, oh yeah, there was a real nice trooper that gave me a ride home once. And the trooper looked at him and he said, and this is the last time I'm going to do it. And he goes, oh, it was you last time.